Welcome back to the Interior Analysis Podcast. I am your host for this episode, Jelani T. Kelly.
I'm Evan Westman.
And back with us for the second time, we have special guest Taylor D. Adams. Welcome.
What's up, guys? I'm excited to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here. This episode is about the new, today marks it being a week old at this point. But where this is, you read the title, this is about Deadpool and Wolverine. Go watch our Logan episode if you haven't already. I'm sure a lot of what's said here will have already been said or have a little more context if you watch that first. It also featured Taylor for that episode as well. So this was directed by Sean. Is it Levy or Levi?
Yeah, Sean Levy, I think.
Levy. Directed by Sean Levy, written by 5 different people: Ryan Reynolds, Rhett Reese, Paul Wernick,
And it feels that way.
and Sean Levy, starring Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Budget was, I believe, I didn't even write it down, but when I looked it up, it was $274 million.
Oh, that much? I saw 200, but I don't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. I mean, those numbers are always a little shaky anyway.
What is money? Money's just made up at this point.
Yeah.
Especially on something this size. Like, God.
It made it made 38.5 million within the first day of release, Thursday alone. Right now, I just looked it up before we started recording. It has grossed 600 million so far, so it's made back more than double its money. Initial reactions. I'll go first. I love it. I'm telling everybody I know to watch it. Anybody that's at least a Wolverine fan or comic book fan or people that have seen the Fox X-Men movies. It was a 10 out of 10 for me. Even still looking back on it, I'm finally starting to see maybe not legitimate clips, but clips surface from the movie. And I am 100%, I'm aware I am 100% biased on my opinion of it, and I do not care. It is very rare. I actually can't even recall the last time I've watched a movie and not cared to see anybody else's opinion before recording an episode on it. I have a couple of people I watch, a couple of film YouTubers I watch in my watch later, like their videos on it. Pitch Meeting being one and Cosmonaut being another. And I haven't watched their videos yet prior to this recording because I don't, unless your opinion is good, I don't want to hear it with this movie.
Well,
unfortunately,
see you later, man.
I think I'm gonna have to sit.
Yeah, I'm gonna dip out in a few. I'm gonna dip out in a few. I want to see it again in theaters. I've only seen it. I only saw it Friday, the second day. In the morning, me and my dad don't care for crowded movie theaters, so we saw it at like 9:30.
Yes, I saw it at 9 too. Awesome.
I also matinated. I did a Monday afternoon.
Nice. I can't wait to see it again once it comes to streaming. I normally don't say that about streaming movies either, but I really want to rewatch it as soon as possible. I have some other stuff in there, but other initial, Evan, just get it over with.
Taylor, why don't you go? I think we'll go in descending order.
We'll ease into it. We'll ease in.
Yeah, we'll go 10 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 3 out of 10.
We won't rip the Band-Aid off. We'll ease into it. So my initial thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine were very. It's weird because I don't know my level of excitement going into this because just the fact that they brought back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, like I was already I felt really weird about it, like just the idea because there was such like really impactful finality with Logan. Then I saw a trailer. I was like, okay, like, sure, I'll check it out. I know it's not, supposed to supersede any previous, Logan movie or anything like that. And Deadpool generally, like, I like immature humor, and so I'm actually into Deadpool. The weird thing about watching this movie was I would laugh at the jokes, and then I would honestly be apathetic until the next joke happened. And I know the jokes were like they're prevalent, but it felt like anytime there was they were going for a deep a deep dramatic moment or like some emotionality, I really didn't care. And I think that's probably okay because to me this just feels like uh for both the good and the bad sense, however you want to take this. It's like you're a kid and you got your two favorite toys together and you just make them your action figures and you just make them do stuff. And that can be a lot of fun. For me, I think I need to take a break from Marvel for a while because everybody has been feeling the same. I feel like, I'm generalizing, but everybody's been kind of feeling the same, post Infinity War saga about the state of the MCU or, how much do we care or how well things are being executed. I feel like this is a step up from the stuff that has existed. Not that I've, been keeping too many tabs on things. But in general, I think I need to take a step back or at least accept the fact that right now, Marvel movies are going to become places where the people exist and they do things and they might not go through anything super impactful or things might fall a little flat, but people just like seeing what they know on screen. And I'm not going to fault anybody for that. So I gave it a 2.5 stars out of 5 on Letterboxd, which people are like, whoa. And I'm like, no, that's average. It's right in the middle. I don't really want to see it again. But if somebody came over and really wanted me to watch it with them again, I'd be okay with it because I saw it with a friend of mine and he was really into it. Again, he didn't say it was the greatest thing he ever saw, but he was digging it. He was laughing at the jokes. And he's very much a comic book fan too. So he was all into the Wolverine and Deadpool comic book storyline. And so it was very rewarding for him to watch. So I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. So to really bring down the rain cloud here.
Can we mute him? Can we mute his mic?
Okay. So I wanna say that, like, before we get into all of my negativity, despite everything that I say, I don't want to take anyone's enjoyment away from this because my dislike for this is really more of like, I want to say it's kind of a me problem, but it's more just a problem I have with like the state of the industry and what this says about it more than the movie itself. I think there's plenty to enjoy here. So the fact that people enjoy it, I don't want to take that away from anyone. My initial reactions really boil down to one moment. And I'm just going to get it out of the way. I'll try not to talk about it too much for the rest of it, but it really kind of just single-handedly ruined my experience. I've never been happy about how Disney ate Fox in the merger from, I think it was 2019. I'm still not really over it. Like, I think it's the worst thing that's happened to the movie industry probably in my lifetime. If there's anything else, I'm forgetting it. And they've just done some like real life stuff that's just been really shitty. Like what they pulled with Blue Sky and like trying to cancel Nimona last year. I don't know a ton of details about it, but it sounded really bad. Like I feel like they've just done some people really dirty in real life. And like I came into this subconsciously, like knowing there would be some jokes about it's Deadpool. He's going to be meta. He's going to mention that he's with Disney now. And people have been talking about that like since the day that happened. They were like, what's going to happen with Deadpool going into the MCU? Because that was like the big property that everyone knew. So I was like, okay, there's going to be some kind of like, they're going to say something about it. I'm fine with it. They said, I think there were a couple of jokes about it in the opening scene. I was like, all right, whatever. And then like 45 minutes in or whatever, they get to the void where they're like, oh, this is where we throw useless things. And then one of the first things you see is a 20th Century Fox logo buried in the sand. I have never been angrier in a movie theater. I literally, like everyone in my theater, and it wasn't a lot because it was like a Monday afternoon. There were like 15 people. They all laughed. I literally yelled, oh, fuck off. Fuck off. I was so upset. Like for the next 10 minutes, I was like, I don't think this can win me back. Like afterward, I was thinking about like what I came up with a metaphor, and I'm sorry if this sounds extreme, but it was like if a guy at a party, like an hour into it, like insulted my friend or like said something gross about one of my siblings, and like I just like he can't win me back after that. Even if he can play good music, he can make some good jokes, even some self-deprecating ones. He's basically dead to me after that. And that's kind of what it felt like watching this movie. I'm sorry if that metaphor sounds extreme, but like that's just I I tried for the rest of it to just like take it for what it was, and I think I was able to like watch it and kind of just move past it. It just felt like they're pissing on Fox's grave in a way that just like has no chill. Like they could have been chiller about it. And I think if it wasn't for some of that just like real life context, I would have given it a pass, but I'm just I've been I think it's really bad for the industry. And this is like the movie where like we're going to kind of like they could have been chill about it and they chose not to be. So I'll try to not bring that up for the rest of it, but like it's sort of I'm going to talk about some stuff in my topic of where I think this movie feels like it is too nice to Disney, in a way that I think is a disservice to what this movie could be. But again, to make like a sandwich of a hate sandwich with nice bread, I I don't want to take away the enjoyment that people gain from this. Um, like the fact that you want to watch this again next week, Jelani, cool. Go have fun. I don't think there is anything wrong with that. I just really hate what this movie kind of represents.
So my confusion lies in why you're so protective of Fox. I think I asked you this, and I don't remember or didn't get a super
I don't
clear
think I
answer.
explained. It's not really that I'm protective of Fox. Like Fox is as you know, they're not like a morally superior studio or anything. I just hate that like the brands are shrinking. Like Fox, especially because like Disney as a brand has like standards that they have to make everything meet. They have like a flat midness that they keep a lot of things at, especially within Marvel. And I think I kind of talked about this in the Logan episode. Like I prefer the like up and down of X-Men to the like flat C plus level that Marvel, like the MCU gives us. Like
Okay.
I'd rather have something that sometimes gives us Dark Phoenix in The Last Stand, but also sometimes gives us First Class in Logan. Like we're just and now we're probably not going to ever get that. We're not going to get any more Last Stands. Like nothing's ever going to be that bad for new X-Men stuff. But we're not going to get another Days of Future Past.
Hey, we'll see.
I'm very doubtful. I'm very doubtful. I don't think Marvel is going to dare to like. They don't want to raise the bar that high. I really don't think. I think this is the highest they're going to set. I think this is where they are setting the bar, and they are not going to pass it after this. That's my hypothesis. If it turns out I'm wrong, I'll take that back. But I think we have a lot of evidence of like
Somebody clip this.
we have 20 shows, or sorry, we have 20 movies, or 25 probably at this point, and 10 shows of evidence that Marvel has a ceiling for how good they are going to allow things to be. And that is disappointing to me.
I think I'm sorry you took that 20th Century Fox dig so hard. Doesn't feel good to be in a movie theater and feel like and yell fuck off to the movie. It doesn't feel good
I've never
to have
done
that
it
feeling
before.
enough to do that. But I laughed a little bit at it not because of like, fucking corporate monopoly bullshit or whatever. Cause like, what are we going to do to stop it? But one of the things that I thought was interesting about this movie as a whole, was that basically the antagonist in this movie is Disney, and
Yeah, weirdly.
Deadpool's fighting to keep Fox alive, or any iteration of any previous Disney thing, or before acquisition thing alive, which I thought was, I don't know how I took it, because I'm like, that's nice that that's in there, but because this is made this is made by Disney Marvel, there's 5 writers on it, like things I mean, I'm sure you'll get into this in your talking point, but it does lack a certain bite. But the bites that are there, I did appreciate, I did laugh at, and I did the Johnny Storm reveal. That was good. That was good.
That was fun.
That was good. I'm glad they did that. I could really, I think I mentioned this over in my Nuthouse Discord, but one thing I've realized from this movie is that I never, ever, ever want to see a Channing Tatum Gambit movie in my life. That dude cannot do that accent at all. I need somebody else. Man.
So, I mean, we'll get into cameos and stuff with my topic. I thought there was something strange. I was hyped to see it if you know like the history behind it.
Yeah.
But I thought something was strange about it. I think it's because he didn't smile. Part of it was because he didn't smile through anything he was saying. Like, yeah, he was saying like goofy things, but he said it with the straightest face possible, like he was playing a drama role, and it was strange. But yeah. Any other initials? I think I have a couple more I didn't mention.
I'm set.
Yeah, I'm set on initials. I just realized at the point I was like, okay, these movies might not be for me at this point. I think they're for the really hardcore lore comic book fans who all they want to see is these characters they adore, and I'm not going to fault anybody for that.
Yeah.
I said in the Logan episode, Wolverine is in my top 5 favorite superheroes. And before we get into topics or dive deeper into the movie, I mean, we've already had a couple of things spoiled, but final warning as far as spoilers for this movie go. If you have not seen it yet, do not watch or listen to it just yet, or feel free to use our reactions to gauge whether or not you want to see it. Don't use Evans, though. Other than
unless
that,
you're as pissed about the Disney Fox merger as me, I don't know if anyone else is, but yeah.
All right. So did you guys hear the news about? This is not on topic, but it just occurred to me. We might want to mention this as well. Maybe we should save it for the end. San Diego Comic-Con this past weekend. Neither of you heard what happened?
No.
Oh, RDJ.
Oh, that I sort of heard about it. He's coming back as Dr. Doom, right?
Yeah, we can bring it up. We can bring it up whenever.
Because I was gonna ask a couple of questions at the end, like where do you guys think the state of the MCU will be, at least for the foreseeable future? What does this film change? Yeah. And then I was also gonna ask, is this a two-hander, Evan?
I think it's safe to say it's not, because Deadpool is the protagonist. I think there's definitely not an equal focus on both.
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna get all of the. We're gonna try. There's gonna be a lot of ebb and flow as far as positivity and merger negativity with this episode goes. But I'm gonna try and front load this episode with a bunch of positivity. With my topic first, fan service and superhero movies. Another warning: I'm about to nerd out. This topic will be tied in with the cameos and the action scenes. First, let's get to the cameos. We already brought it up, mentioned it. Evans as Human Torch. Yeah, they got me. I thought it was a variant of Cat. My dad caught it before he even said Flame On. I don't know how. He never explained to me how. I also didn't realize how much I liked Evan's version. Chris Evans, not Evan Westman.
Well, you
Chris
know
Evans'
how
version.
good I am at my Human Torch impression. It's so well known.
Evan's version of Cap prior to that scene. I was so excited to see him. Actually, almost as excited as I was to see spoilers for Black Adam, even though it doesn't matter. I was almost excited as I was to see Cavill back as Superman at the end of Black Adam. I may want to relook at my superheroes list because if I was that excited to see Captain America, he might be up there for me. He's not right now, but oh no, that's a question for later too. I'm gonna move this. So other cameos, we got Jennifer Garner back as Elektra, reprising her role from the Daredevil movie. It was the 2002, 2000.
She also had her own, right?
Yep, and her own Elektra movie. Snipes back as Blade. Unexpected, but always welcome.
I knew he was going to say that line.
I
knew it.
That's like the only thing I know about this.
I was waiting for it. I was like, this dude's going to say it.
Motherfucker's still trying to ice skate up there.
I mean, it was expected, but still funny when he said it. Felt a little forced, but still, like, he had to.
Felt forced. This movie felt forced.
It's such a good line, though.
Yeah.
It was a great line.
Said to be the Blade movies are said to be one of, or the one that started the live action superhero trend that started like late 90s, early 2000s, as far as Blade, Spider-Man, Raimi Spider-Man, X-Men, that train of movies started that. It was also before those, so that's why people say that. We already mentioned him a little bit as well. Channing Tatum is Gambit. It was a huge deal for me when I saw him because I remembered hearing something. I didn't do research on it when I heard about it, but I remembered hearing something about a canceled Gambit movie with Channing Tatum attached years ago. Imagine my shock when I see him as the second and last reveal with this. I'm going to refer to them as just the Resistance. I don't know if they have a team name.
Sure.
The Resistance team in the Void. So I did a bit of research in doing my notes. He was supposed to appear in X-Men Apocalypse.
The greatest movie.
Let that sink in.
Man.
Yeah. There's a long history of things not. I'm not going to give you all of the notes on it, but there's a long history of things not going right for the film since 2007. Went through development hell, which is also why Gambit says he doesn't remember anything prior to the Void because he never technically existed.
Yep.
So, meaning he was never set in the Fox universe or any universe. But Channing finally got to play him, which was dope. I loved it. I personally love it when actors are fans of the characters they're playing, like Reynolds and Deadpool. Like, I'm going to say claims because I don't know them personally, and I don't know how true it is. It could be a marketing thing. I don't know. No shade to the actors, but I saw a recent interview of Reynolds saying, I think it was in the movie, maybe, Reynolds saying he read credits? The Deadpool comic. Yeah, in the Deadpool comics, he said he'd like to play that character someday. I always think that's cool when that comes to fruition. The same thing happened with Shameik Moore and him voicing Miles. He said he wrote that in a journal one day. Like, I absolutely
love
that. And Tatum is no exception because he said he wanted to play that. He apparently, judge as you will, grew up around New Orleans. Around the New Orleans area. He's claimed, from what I read, he claimed he could do a Cajun accent. He would practice doing Cajun accents. Y'all be the judges of that.
That's fascinating. I mean, maybe the lack of a smile was an issue because like he was talking, and I've heard Cajun accents, and I was like, I don't think that's. It sounds like he's mumbling. I
couldn't even tell that was the accent he was going for. I was like, is he supposed to be Hispanic or Southern? I can't tell.
Creole, baby.
Compare that to the X-Men 97 Gambit, who is just, I mean, I don't know if either of you've seen X-Men '97 on Disney Plus, but
Yeah, I have.
that Gambit was that made me. I already liked Gambit as a character, but
It was a good portrayal.
he might be up there on my top 10 list too.
Mhm.
And then the final reveal for that team, we had Keen back as X-23, expected, but also still welcome. I do, like others have stated, I think I spoke to Chase about this as well, who we've had on here before. I wish he was given more to do.
Yep.
Jelani, I think you might be frozen there.
Mm,
We're not hearing anything from you.
yeah.
All right, we got you back.
He's back.
Oh, great. Okay.
We tried to dig him up out of the grave, but he had decayed
Yeah.
too much. So we went to another universe and got another Jelani. He's come
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
And this one hates this video.
This one hates
Well, my last note for just the cameos was many other actors that had portrayed characters from the Fox universe were brought back as well. Pyro, Sabretooth, Toad, and I believe Lady Deathstrike, even though she didn't do anything. All of those people were there. Yeah. I mean, these are kind of two subtopics within my whole fan service topic. So did you guys have anything you wanted to say about the cameos, what you loved, didn't love?
I wanted to shout out the Henry Cavill cameo because he did the Mission Impossible arm cock, and I was like, respect.
Reloading his fists.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know why. It's still great. It's like one of the
completely forgot
dumbest
about
things,
that.
but it's so great to see.
He pulls it off though. Like there's not a lot of people who
yeah.
can do that, but he sells it.
Yeah, I enjoyed
I
that.
completely forgot about that montage
Yeah,
where
that
he
was
was
great.
looking for the comic accurate Wolverine where he was 5'3" or whatever.
The Short King. Yeah.
A bunch of the other ones I didn't understand the reference. I haven't read. I'm a fan, but I haven't read the X-Men comics like that. So I'm sure. I think one of them was Age of Apocalypse. I don't know which one. The strangest one was the one where he was like crucified on the X. That was weird. But yeah, I loved those as well. I completely forgot about those. Any more on cameos?
I'll just say I appreciated when they were like going kind of like balls to the wall, having fun with it. I thought that was like kind of when this movie was at its best, was when it was taking advantage of like being able to like break the fourth wall and bring these characters in. Like I don't think it hit as much for me personally, but I was like, I'm glad that it's at least taking advantage of its identity in that sense. Like having one of the fight scenes be like 50 Deadpools versus Deadpool Prime and Wolverine is like, that's kind of like what this movie is able to do. And I appreciate that there were times when it like went pretty hard doing some of that.
Yeah. I think
They're actually a thing in the comics too, the Deadpool core.
I'm
Not
sure.
surprising.
Yeah. I think it's not explicitly stated within the context of the movie, but Blake Lively as Lady Deadpool. I thought that was
I saw that after.
that was fun. That was fun to do. And I mean, I feel like there's another episode you can do on actors surpassing being actors and being brands. And so like the fact that basically Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool, like that's how he acts in every movie basically. And so like, it only makes sense that he's going to incorporate other parts of like his life into the movie, which I thought was, I don't know, it's kind of fun. Like if you imagine you putting on a movie, making a movie happen and you want to put your family in it, I think that's fucking cool.
Yeah. Yep, that was Blake Lively as Lady Deadpool, for those who don't know, Ryan Reynolds' wife. Nathan Fillion was Deadpool.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure. I haven't seen it in the casting. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Matthew McConaughey was Cowboy Deadpool.
was
think.
thinking
I read
it,
that somewhere.
but it sounded like a little off, like not quite, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. The action. I think the action was fire, but maybe that's because I got sick of close up shaky cam, like everybody was, and got away from those nauseating shots. There were a lot of wide shots on well lit sets. To me, it's just fascinating how, I mean, $274 million budget, but to me, it's still fascinating how they can make the action look as brutal and violent as it is without like cutting away. I just chalk it up to movie magic. And even though I haven't been behind the scenes of like a movie of that caliber just yet, like I as just as a movie fan, I find it fascinating with them being able to pull that off. We had the opening sequence with the bye bye bye. I found it funny.
Yeah, it was
definitely
fun.
Definitely the most entertaining of the three. To me, the most entertaining of the three Deadpool movies. Honestly, I feel like y'all watch more movies than me. What can you compare this opening sequence to anything you've seen in other movies?
In what sense?
Like
The sheer absurdity of it.
I would put it up there with the church fight scene in Kingsman. That always comes to my mind as this
Sick
kind of
fight
like
scene.
really, like a really well choreographed and executed, extravagant, sensational fight scene. Like things are way over the top. Like it doesn't actually, that's not what actually happens when you fight, but like it's super entertaining to watch. I would go along that. And then if you want to keep it kind of with MCU, like the last fight scene in Guardians 3 was fucking fire. And so like that's, I feel like that's up there too. I'm sure there are some others, but yeah, that opening, that was fun. Like that's what I signed up for. Like that's one of the reasons why I started, I bought a ticket to this movie, is like I knew something like this was going to happen. There was going to be some really catchy pop throwback song, and there was going to be some absurd fight scene, and they were probably going to go together.
Jelani, are you saying opening scene specifically?
That I was meaning that, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to invalidate your question or your answer there, Taylor. I just wanted to make sure.
I understand.
For my money, the one that's coming to mind right now is the opening of Baby Driver, where you get like basically a sick music video and a sick car chase to open the movie. For better or worse, it's probably the best scene in it. The rest of the movie's good too. But that scene rips so hard, and it's just like it gets you so pumped to watch the rest of it. I enjoyed the opening of this more than others, or more than like some of the other scenes in it. I was like, this isn't getting me like super hyped to watch it. I think I was going into this, I was trying not to be cynical, but I think I failed a little bit at that. But that scene did kind of pull me in a little bit and was like, all right, maybe this can be a good time. And despite my reactions, I think it does deliver on that. Like the promise you are given in that opening, it pretty much gives you what it's promising.
If you want to, in the sense of an opening scene setting tone for the rest of the movie, I feel like, any successful movie is supposed to do a really good job at that. And even going back to our conversation about Logan, like the opening scene sets the tone for the entire movie. Like it's brutal. I mean, it's not, it's almost, they're both violent scenes, but they're the exact opposites of one another. Like one is supposed to be really ugly and gritty and like comically sad, and the other is supposed to be over the top and goofy and sensational.
Yeah. Only thing I don't understand is how he was able to break the bones up as adamantium. It's supposed to be unbreakable.
I don't know. If that's what we're questioning.
Yeah, I think that's the wrong thing to
suspension of disbelief is out there.
Sorry, that's just the nerd. That's just the nerd in me. I'm just like, that's supposed to be an unbreakable metal.
Yeah.
But all right.
All right, so now I got to bring
I'll,
it down to half a star because of that logic.
yeah, please do. It's a 9.5 out of 10. I mean, and with the opening sequence, they dealt with the Logan ending in the most Deadpool way I think they could have. No, they didn't bring that Wolverine that we knew back, technically. But using his corpse to kill a bunch of soldiers is like, how much more absurd can you go? That was
For sure.
something.
I personally liked the meta of it is that dead Logan just beats the shit out of TVA, and I'm like, yeah, I don't give a shit about TVA.
Yeah.
I did want to ask though, because they do open it with like, how are we gonna not like ruin Logan? And it's like, well, we are gonna ruin Logan. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, like they're gonna do it in a fun way though, right? Like this. By the end of the movie, I was kind of like, I don't know. Even as somebody who's not super attached to Logan, I kind of feel like they did. It felt a little bit disrespectful to me, just like how they brought it. If again, sorry that my cynic is coming out here. It felt like a cash grab. Like I don't think they needed to bring him back for this. He gets sidelined for most of it, and then like I was kind of happy to see Daphne Keene back, but I was almost immediately like, you're too good for this movie. You shouldn't be wasting your time here.
I started questioning why Laura was there, why X-23 is in the void. I'm like, okay, so is this Laura from the Logan universe, and she's in the void? Because like, how
it seems
which
like
version of Laura?
It seems like it's the one that we had in Logan.
Yes, but but nobody in that timeline's been voided, because that's just the end of a timeline. Like, so
but we want our
and that's isn't that supposed to be the prime timeline too? Like, and the prime timeline is dead because Logan died. So it's like, I know we can get to the discussion of like, I don't think
they care. I don't think we care.
I don't think they care. I don't think we should. But I was thinking about these things of, because as moviegoers, like, we're trying to take some kind of like chronological meaning behind things, just to like for plot points. And at a certain point, if things start to not line up and you're enjoying the movie anyway, just don't worry about it. Just have at it.
You guys are poking holes in my perfect movie.
I don't know, man. I don't think this was ever perfect, but I apologize.
But here's the thing. Don't listen to
my
us.
Perfect movie.
Just don't listen to us. Like,
well, okay. Here's what I'll give you on this. You mentioned this off air, Jelani, but there's two movies that I think hit a little bit for me like this does for you. Well, one's not a movie, but Spider-Man: No Way Home and Harry Potter and the Cursed Child are two stories that I think, as their own thing, are barely functional. Like, I don't think they I'd have to rewatch both of them. I've only seen each one once, but they have they have pretty glaring plot holes in them. They're also like incredible celebrations of those two properties. Like, I was like, the cheers of like seeing everyone come back in No Way Home, the two actors, and developing those characters, I thought was really good. Like, we got to spend a bit of time with it. And in Cursed Child, like, everyone in my theater, me included, like, cried 8 times throughout that entire show. Like, it's just hitting you in, like, it is, like, those are fan service stories. And I think this is too. It's certainly a lot less, like, because of what this is, it's not as heartfelt. And like, it's doing it in a way that's poking fun. But I think there is, and I hesitate to say that we should have more of this, but like, there has kind of been a space that's been carved out for like movies that are, or stories that are like based in a property that are pretty much just like, we're going to celebrate this thing for 2 hours. And that's kind of the point. It's not really supposed to hold together as its own thing. It might sort of pretend to, but like, you can kind of take it as not really canon. Like you can separate No Way Home from maybe not Tom Holland, but you can separate it from Garfield and Maguire, and you can watch Cursed Child and be like, okay, that's not canon. Like that doesn't invalidate what happened in the 7 books that it came before it. And I think that's kind of true here. Maybe I think we'll find out with where it goes from here, but like there is an extent to which like this feels like a celebration of the Fox properties. And I don't have the nostalgia for that for it to hit for me, but I sense that it's there and like that is kind of a nice thing. So I think like when I'm poking holes in the plot of this, I don't think it's a problem because I think it's not really their priority. And I almost wish they cared less about the story. And I'll get into that in my topic. But this does, I don't know if this is exactly on topic, but this movie almost seems to be asking the question, like, can you make a movie that's entirely fan service? And apparently the answer is yes. I don't know if that's sustainable, but it seems to, I mean, in terms of money, in terms of audience reception, it seems like it worked.
Yeah, I was drawing the parallel with Spider-Man No Way Home too with this, where like if I actually looked and like paid attention to how that movie was working, one of the sloppiest things I've ever seen. But did I feel all my feels during the entire runtime? 100%, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't really have anything else on No Way Home. I wanted to just finish up on action. I know we're running low on time. We had the Deadpool versus Wolverine round 1 in front of the Fox logo, Evan's favorite scene. We had Deadpool versus Wolverine round 2 in the minivan after Wolverine's rant.
In the Honda Odyssey.
And
that was a good fight.
I like that fight. That was good.
And I was questioning, like, it was at that point I started to question, why are they even fighting? Then I remembered, oh wait, I want this to happen. So I shut my brain. I actively shut my brain off and just enjoyed the fight scene. And I was like, why do I care? No, I want to see this. It is like Taylor said, it's your favorite 2 action figures squaring off for most of the movie and then teaming up against the villains at the end. It's great. And I loved it. And I loved it for it. Deadpool, Wolverine, and the rest of what I dubbed as the Resistance versus Nova and her forces. Blade, I don't remember anything Blade or Carmen Electra did. I remember Blade's line. And then
Carmen Electra or Electra?
So, oh God, what is this? Sorry.
Wouldn't be surprised if just randomly, just in the background, Carmen Electra shows up, just throwing everybody.
It would sort of be on brand for this movie.
And then Blade's line in the car ride into that scene where he said, I'm the only Blade. Oof. Which is kind of crazy because that movie is also in development hell like Gambit.
Yeah.
So, oof.
Yeah. They've changed directors at least twice, I think.
Yeah. People have dropped out of it. People that were just announced dropped out of it like less than a month later. Like, it's crazy.
People are just dropping out of Marvel movies. Like, what's the Thunderbolt one or something like that? Or Steve Yeun was like, nope, I'm leaving.
Oh, Sentry, I think he was supposed to play Sentry.
I don't know what character he was supposed to play. I just saw that Steve Yeun was originally cast, and then he said, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Good on him, I guess. I really like him as an actor. So, like, if I kind of trust his taste on if he bows out, I assume it's for a good reason.
I mean, Gambit had some cool things during. I distinctly remember what Gambit did in the fight scene because we've never seen Gambit like that other than X-Men Origins Wolverine, which is not a good
movie.
It's a very low bar to start with Gambit.
Yeah,
it's a movie.
Played by everyone's
Um,
favorite generic handsome white man, Taylor Kitsch.
Taylor Kitsch. Hey, Texas forever.
yeah.
I don't even know what that means, but whatever.
Have you not watched Friday Night Lights? My man.
Sorry, I'm young.
God, it's so good.
I mean, we already mentioned Deadpool Wolverine versus the Deadpool Corps with more cameos and just the wide shot of it was great. It was great. And then you had Deadpool, he got knocked out at some point during the fight, and then the other Deadpools jumped Wolverine and he sliced them. They jumped them off screen and then he threw their body parts back onto the screen and then they kept fighting, jumped onto the bus, fought through the bus. It was nuts.
It's a decent long take fight. I mean, it's obviously heavy CGI, but it was a pretty good long take.
Yeah.
And you got your Stan Lee cameo.
Where was that?
He was on the bus sticker.
Didn't see that.
I didn't notice.
I saw that and I was like, good. I'm glad they put that in there. It's nice.
Rest in peace. It also had Liefeld's name, and I mean, they focused on it for a good couple of seconds, but Liefeld was the storefront they got thrown into or something. Liefeld is one.
Oh yeah, a bunch of people laughed, and I was like, "What is that?" I kept waiting for it to cut back to the storefront because I could tell that was what the joke was. What is that?
Rob Liefeld is one of the co-creators of Deadpool.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then you also can't mention fan service without mentioning Jackman being jacked, man, at the end.
Yeah.
Of course they had to. Oh, and then I forgot to add in my notes the mask. They gave him the mask. I mean, yeah, you already had the suit. They gave him the mask. I was ready. I was about ready to tear up at that point because
I felt really weird because I didn't feel anything about that, and everyone I've heard is like that was a moment where I got choked up, and I was like, I didn't feel anything when he put that mask on. I was like, oh, he's got a mask on. I felt like some kind of jerk.
No, that's perfectly fine. I mean, I'd read about it, and then by the time I got to the movie, I completely forgot it was going to happen. And then we get to the climax. Oh, he put it on right before the Deadpool core scene.
Mm-hmm.
It was great because it's what I didn't mind the black leather as much as a lot of people did. But it was really cool to see him in the black and yellow in this movie, and then to see him put the mask on. Like, as I've read, some people have waited 20 plus years to see that on screen. So I thought it was great. And of course, he had to be shirtless at some point. I read that the only time Hugh Jackman has played Wolverine and not been shirtless in a movie was his cameo in First Class, when he told them to go F themselves.
Yeah.
So, wasn't he in? No, well, he was in most of Days of Future Past, but there was one movie I remember him.
One scene in that.
I
can't remember.
He was shirtless when he woke up in the 70s.
Okay.
In
I think it was it Dark Phoenix or Apocalypse where he had a cameo where he was like escaping from the lab. And
that's Apocalypse. I don't think
right.
he shows up in Dark Phoenix.
That is Apocalypse. No, he's not. I forgot that he was in that movie.
They screech to a halt to have him cameo in Apocalypse. I think they detour the plot.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that since the theater.
I totally forgot he was in that. I have to update my Letterboxd rank Wolverine movies now because I forgot he was in that.
He's bare. I don't even know that he says anything.
He doesn't.
I don't think
he's very animalistic. He's very animalistic at that point.
Yeah, that's all I have for my fan service topic. Thank you for allowing me to nerd out and listen to my TED talk. Now let's get into Evan's topic of parody and cowardice.
Yes. If
there was nothing left for you guys for fan service, sorry.
I'm good on it. Okay. And I'm glad before we move into mine, I am glad the fan service worked for you. It did not for me. Please don't take my digs at this movie to be like, I don't want you to have fun. I am glad you had fun.
Oh yeah.
I just want to be clear about that, despite all my cynicism. So my topic is parody and cowardice. Uh, I have always been kind of frustrated with where Deadpool kind of refuses to be a full parody because I think it would be better if it were. And I include this movie and both of the previous two in that. Parody can be done lovingly. And I think in some cases, the Deadpool movies are like loving in their parody. But I think they are also afraid to do what parodies can do. Um, for my money, parodies can/should serve three purposes. One is making jokes that rely on our knowledge of something that was made more earnestly. That's kind of like the baseline requisite. The second thing is to celebrate the thing that they're making fun of in some way. And the third is to call out some of the more tired, uninspired, or problematic elements of the thing that they're parodizing. Deadpool, I think, does all three of those things, but it's afraid to do the third thing in the ways that matter. And I think that was especially true here. Um, this, like, it has and does take shots at superhero movies, but here I could feel it being really afraid to take shots at the MCU. At most, they were like, Phase 4 hasn't been the best, right, guys? Like, that was the furthest they went. Like, I feel like the tropes of today that it could have been calling out are like pausing for cameos, sequel bait, making ultra bland stories in favor of setting up crossovers. It doesn't parodize those things. It just does them, like as it does them straight faced. Um, and like I think if any superhero, if any character, like could provide the parody that this genre sorely needs, it's Deadpool, and it has never wanted to do that. I think we were kind of talking about this earlier with like Taylor. You were saying like I didn't like when this movie tried to be sincere.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that frustration with the previous two movies as well. Like if you're a parody, you don't have to be sincere. And like you can I was thinking about some other parody movies today, like Not Another Teen Movie or Spaceballs or Men in Tights. Those still have plots that like kind of just still get you just from one joke to the next. And the plots themselves are kind of there to like do a little bit of the parody as well. Like when it hits certain beats, it's like, here's this beat and we're gonna subvert this trope. The Deadpool movies have never really done that with their plots. They're trying to kind of do a straight ahead superhero movie plot, but it's always kind of like it's pretty low on their priority list. And when you feel that the most, or when I feel it the most at least, is when Deadpool is like suddenly like cares about something just because he needs to go do the plot. I think that happened a couple times here. I remember feeling that even I enjoyed Deadpool 2 when I saw it in theaters. I don't know if I would enjoy it as much today as I did when I guess it was 19 when I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's kind of my frustration here is that like everyone complains about MCU movies being mid. Deadpool is the movie to take them to task on that. But instead, here he's treating the Avengers with reference. And the only things they're really making fun of are X-Men movies from the past and 2000s Marvel movies. Like, what a perfect opportunity they have in this to take Disney to task on like you have a protagonist that's pansexual and an openly gay couple. What better opportunity to take Disney to task on how like lamely they've been doing queer representation and stuff. You have a golden opportunity to take them to task on that. And the couple gets sidelined and they don't take any shots at Disney. Like that's what this movie could be. I know that would never happen because it's made by Disney, but that's kind of part of my frustration. And it's partly a frustration with what they did when it was still part of Fox. Because even then they weren't really calling out like I think they called out like post-credit scenes in the first one. And there might have been some stuff in the second where they're like, oh, you're like even they took shots at the DC universe, which I think is fine. Like DC's still making stuff, and that's up to their game. like criticizing something in a parody, I don't think has to. It doesn't always mean that it's going to kill the genre. Sometimes that's what happens, but sometimes it can just elevate it. Like Tropic Thunder calls out some tropes of the industry that basically don't exist anymore, and I think it's partly because they got called out so hard in that movie. It doesn't destroy the genre necessarily. You can still do it. It's just a way of saying like, hey, let's raise the bar a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always frustrated me that these movies don't do that. So that's I don't really have a question there.
When has I'm just curious, when has a company that makes a certain type of a stretch of genre films or whatever also been the same one to parody it?
I'm not sure if that's ever happened. There's a
Okay.
chance it has. I don't know. Like I don't know what companies have made some of those spoof movies in the past.
That's what I'm asking, because Spaceballs wasn't made by the people that made Star Wars. Tropic Thunder, I don't even know what company made that, but the team movies, those all that stretch of films were not made by the same people who made the movies they were parodying. The team movies, scary movies, none of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if anybody has done it correctly or the way you want in the past.
Yeah, well, I think in this case it's kind of like it's like handing your test back to your best friend to like when the teacher says, "All right, you're going to grade your own tests." Like you're going to have some
Right.
bias depending on who you give it to. Like if you really want to take someone to task on it, it can't be from within, which like I don't know if we would have got that if Deadpool had stayed at Fox because like, you know, I think it took some harder shots in the first two movies, but also we were in a different place in 2018 with superhero movies than we are. Like a lot's happened in the past 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like the stuff that it kind of like should be calling out, quote unquote, um, is not the same when like it wasn't the same the last time that like Deadpool was made under Fox. And again, I'm not trying to like come at the merger too much with this, but I think this is kind of like part of my frustration is that it's kind of pretending to be like, oh, we have like no line that we won't cross, but they very clearly do, because like they seem very limited in what they are taking to task, and I think I'm a little bit just like I miss having parody movies because I think they serve a purpose, and part of it is to elevate the genre and to celebrate. It's like not another teen movie is a great parody movie. It kind of like shows like this is the fun thing, but we're also going to show like okay, yeah, just because Chris Evans has an amazing performance moment where he sees like the girl he's supposed to make prom queen, and he's acting like it's the end of the world that she has glasses and a ponytail. And
She
now
has
that
paint
trope,
on her overalls.
paint on the
No,
road. No way.
no way.
I think that is the best performance of his career. But like that trope had reached critical mass at that point, so you need to like if the genre is going to continue, it kind of needs to be called out. And superhero movies are way beyond that point. I think we have
Mm-hmm.
like it's got tropes coming out its ass, and there's no sequel to take it to task with. And part of that I think is because Marvel has done a very strategic job of poking fun at themselves within their own movies. Like they how many times have characters laughed when a superhero intros himself? It's like, I'm Dr. Octopus. Oh, for real? That's your name? Wow, that's dumb. Like they can't help themselves from doing that at this point. And I think it kind of makes them parody proof in some ways. Or at least it's done in that attempt. Um so I don't know if I exactly have a point here beyond like I wish this had the balls to be a full parody, and I think it's a it's a type of movie that we should bring back because I think they serve a purpose. So I'm sorry if that's a little bit of a one-sided take, but if you guys have anything to add on to that,
I'm not sure if it would have been as well received as it has been if it was full on parody. Uh, as far as this, Hugh Jackman was said he was done with the character prior to signing on to this, which is why they had the joke until you're 90. Um, he was only going to come back if he did a movie with Reynolds as Deadpool, and if he was being inducted into the MCU, which I'm actually, after watching this movie, not sure how that. I mean, Disney bought Fox, but as far as these two being tied in with the MCU, other than Deadpool meeting Happy, I don't know where their stories go from here, as far as like being tied in with the Avengers or the coming Fantastic Four stuff.
they seem to have left it pretty open-ended for themselves. Like there is
Yeah.
not a clear direction.
So to your point of wishing it would have been more of a parody, with the fact of the matter of it being the same company that is churning out its movies, I understand that point. But also, you got to consider how the audience would have received it. I think it was trying to strike a balance of a genuineness between Deadpool's parody. Yeah, he had some character to him. He had, you don't want to really call it was base level an arc, I think, with both of these characters. With Deadpool really being the parody, and then I think they were trying to strike a balance with the genuineness with this Wolverine, which is why I don't think they could have gone as extreme as you wanted them to, as far as a parody film goes. Yeah, they poked fun of all the different versions of Wolverine. They did something, but I'm not entirely sure, as I already said, not entirely sure how it would have been received as a full on parody of itself and superhero movies when they're trying to accomplish more than just being a parody. As far as
Oh, for sure. I'm not
giving,
surprised that
yeah,
it's not doing this because I think they're afraid to kill their biggest moneymaker. I
right.
just wish it was. But I agree with your point of like it would be interesting to see. Like I think you might be right that audiences might have disliked this if it had gone full parody.
I
That's a
think
fair
I would
point.
have, honestly. Um, Finally seeing, because this is, again, 20 years in the making, we're finally seeing Wolverine, I'll put in quotes, I don't know how many people consider him our Wolverine, but he's been the only Wolverine, live action Wolverine, that people really know of. Um, Finally seeing him in the blue and yellow spandex, like it was servicing, it was trying to accomplish so much. I don't think it could have been a full on parody while also trying to give fans what they wanted, as far as seeing Wolverine do everything he was doing in this movie. Because, yeah, it's a Deadpool film. I'm sure people count it as the third Deadpool film, even though it's not titled Deadpool 3. Um, but it really is both of their movies, I think. Um,
It
yeah.
does feel like the parody and the fan service are kind of at odds with each other. Like
Yes.
I feel like that's kind of what you're saying there, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's true, and it's clear which one they. I think I agree with you that they're kind of trying to strike a balance. Like it reminded me of Kingsman in that way, where like Kingsman, I feel like can't quite decide if it wants to be a parody or be the thing either, so it kind of does both.
Mm-hmm.
I think it strikes the balance better because it commits a little bit more to like I did a whole video about like how those movies do kind of do their theme. I still think it's half-assed, but they like put a little time into it. It felt a lot more tacked on here, but you can feel them being like, well, we have to kind of make this a real movie.
Right.
You can't just make it ridiculous.
Right.
Um, and for my money, I don't want. I want them to just lean into like, no, throw a plot out the window. You don't need it. That's not what you clearly have that so far down your priority list. It might as well not be here anyway. But I think it is probably improving the box office numbers and the audience reception. So in some ways, I can't blame them for it. I still kind of hate that they're doing it.
That's fair.
Mhm.
Taylor's got to go soon.
Yeah, Taylor, did you want to weigh in there? Sorry to override you.
No, you're good, man. I'm kind of along the same thought process as Disney will never parody itself. Well, I don't want to say never. As soon as Disney finds out they can make money off doing it, then they'll do it. It doesn't really matter what it is. They'll pivot to anything that makes them money. And so if somewhere, down the line, parody movies come back and they're making a whole lot more money than whatever this is, then they might do something like that. But they're not going to do anything for the sake of trying something new.
Well, we've kind of seen them do it before. After Shrek, they pivoted with their fairy tale stuff. Like that was their bread and butter. And then Shrek was like, "Isn't this dumb?" And they were like, "Yeah, isn't this dumb, guys?" With all of their like Chicken Little, Frozen, Tangled. They were like, "We gotta like."
Yeah, so they gotta wait. They gotta wait for somebody else to do it because they're not gonna do it.
Right, and right now they don't have like. Is there a DC character like this that could? Because DC has, they don't have a whole lot to defend. Like
no.
I mean, maybe Lego Batman 2 could be that, but
so shout out to Hassan because he's mentioned that Marvel doesn't have competition right now. So until that comes along where they start parodying these superhero movies, yeah, I agree with Taylor. They're not going to do that. DC, they just restarted, so we have to see. Only time will tell. And Hassan, I said shout out to Hassan. He mentioned that them finally getting competition back will likely change how these movies are made as far as them being in the middle of the road. Because if DC starts churning out some hits, and I'm really hoping Superman starts it off with a bang, Marvel might have to hold up the mirror to themselves. So, and yeah, it's a two-hander, Evan. You don't want to hear it, but baseline, they both have arcs. Fight me.
I think there's too much focus on Deadpool and not enough on Wolverine to call it a two-hander, but we don't have to.
Fight me. He learns to accept what he did by the end.
I'm not denying that the arc is there. I am denying that they are given equal attention.
Small arc, baby arc. We don't even see the start of the arc. That's the thing. We're told it.
That's true.
Telling, not showing hard there. Taylor, if you have to go, we can wrap up. But you did want to kind of. You said you had kind of a topic.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, we can go ahead and do it. So I've been thinking on this, and it's tough because my opinions on this movie have to do with both of your points. But I think for me, it boils down to the question of maybe what is a movie? And in the sense that moving pictures on screen for 2 hours, that's a movie, sure. But we're in the age of hashtag content right now. I'm not gonna say that this is a movie that is on in the background while you're doing something else, which is half of what content is actually. But it does feel to me that this movie, this thing that we've seen in the theater, was a space for things to happen. And this has to do with superhero movies as well, Marvel superhero movies, where nothing matters. Everything's made up and the points don't matter. So there's no stakes, especially with the introduction of multiverse stuff. You can do whatever. You can bring Robert Downey Jr. back and he can be a completely different character. But because of multiverse, you can say, oh, actually, in another universe, Tony Stark becomes Dr. Doom or whatever the hell it is. So you can just do whatever you want, which from a creative standpoint is kind of cool. also from a creative standpoint, things get very bland and safe. And it feels weird to say that after just having watched a Deadpool movie. Because there are things I love about this movie that I love dirty fucking jokes. Like, give me that in a superhero movie. I think that's great because that's the only superhero that can really do it. And he does it really well, mostly because it's just Ryan Reynolds doing Ryan Reynolds things, but it works that way. But I think that's why I mentioned earlier that I'm just kind of like, I need to take a break. I'm a little tired. I want these movies that feature like really heroic stories and epic action sequences. I want them to mean something. I want them to have some kind of finality. I don't want them to keep going and keep going and keep going, which I thought, on the Logan podcast, I talked about this. But with Deadpool, I felt like I didn't know what to expect going into this movie. And I didn't know that there was a plan. If there's a plan to make him an Avenger, or if Disney reboots X-Men, if he's actually becomes like an X-Men in these movies that they're making. I don't know what their plan is with this. But I feel like if you cast Deadpool in any other movie that's not a Deadpool movie, it's going to feel really weird, but it's still going to be content. Like, I just don't have faith enough in the Marvel Disney system right now for anything to have enough meaning for me to properly enjoy it. I can enjoy instances of it and scenes, but I don't think I can enjoy it as a whole, because that's what I want out of a movie. I want a whole experience. Like, there's a whole thing about, I sometimes I judge a movie on if I makes me think, laugh, and cry. And I feel like if I can get all three, that's dope. That's really cool in a movie. Sometimes you don't, and it still can be a good movie. You just don't get all three. But I need more. I think I was reading a review earlier today that echoed something of what I was saying. Is like, this is a fun time at the movie theater, but it's very surface level, and I want something more out of it. I don't need it. My friends argue with me all the time that I shit on superhero movies, and I'm like, I really don't. Some of them are really cool, and I would watch them over and over again. But I want more. I don't know if that makes me greedy, but I just want more out of stuff. Even if they just went, like Evan said, just completely off the rails and just really twisted the twisted knob up to 11 and just went balls to the wall and stuff, I'd be totally down with that. But I think because Daddy Disney is at the helm, we're not going to get, even as early as Iron Man, like the original Iron Man, like the original Captain America. Those are really fucking solid movies. I don't think we're not going to get anything like that again.
Yeah, you might be waiting for finality until you're 90, Taylor.
If they pay me Hugh Jackman money, I'm fine. Wait until I'm 90.
Yeah, there is no way we are getting final anything with any of these movies.
I know, and I think that's sad, honestly.
Yeah,
me too.
But they become
money.
They become comic book movie. They become comic books in movie form, and not movies featuring comic book heroes. If that makes sense, like comic books, cool. Keep going. Like they're churned out like crazy. Not there's thought in them. Like, I'm not saying that becomes content or anything like that, but they take advantage of multiverse things. They do some just like other off the wall stuff, and it's really cool. And it's confined to a certain number of pages, and they can keep doing that. But now we're in an instance where we're just taking a comic book, and we will adapt a storyline to the big screen, but we take the execution to the big screen as well, as in they just can do whatever they want, regardless of what has happened or what they plan on doing in the future.
I don't know if this fully coalesces your point there, but something I've been feeling with this over the past few days is like, I think this movie almost signals like the critical mass of having like familiarity and references be your main currency. The amount of references that are in this movie, both to like some of them are a little more fun, like having the cameos. There's also a crazy amount of like lines from the MCU in this that like I don't even think most of them registered with me, but I was like, somebody's already made the video of every single line that is referencing something else from the MCU, and I'm like, the thing is like people are here for that. Like they know what their audience wants, but it's gonna dry up eventually. Like it's gonna hit a critical mass, and I I think like this movie just kind of shows how much value they are placing on just reference and familiarity. And that doesn't equate to something ending. They are there's no value in ending right now.
Hmm.
And I that's why I keep praying that Spider-Verse doesn't get touched by this because Spider-Verse really cares about their story. And they can have the fun and the references in there. They're kind of the only thing that seems to be able to do both right. And I don't I'm not surprised. It's really hard to do. Like it's a miracle how good those movies are at it, but they put story first. And I really hope that however long that series goes, that they know where they want to end and that they keep that as their priority. Because the MCU clearly I don't think anyone knows where it's going. I don't think they know where it's going. They're just kind of like post Endgame, they just seem like they're like whatever keeps this engine running is what we're gonna do.
Yeah. And there's something else too about having familiarity and references be your currency. Like, people have opinions on the world, and if they don't like the world that's outside, they're gonna go distract themselves with something that is familiar, something they understand. And no, I have no issue with anybody doing that. Um, it bothers me that in an art form that is supposed to both challenge and comfort, we're relying more on the comfort, so the art form itself doesn't get advanced. And that's this isn't like the end game or anything. I feel like we're plenty of great movies are coming out. That's
For
not
sure.
anything.
Even from
I'm
Disney.
saying
My
with that.
favorite movie of this year is Inside Out 2. It's a
I have
sequel
been
to a
told
thing that I
to see
didn't
that,
want
so I need to see
to
that.
have a sequel, and I fucking loved it.
All right, good. I'm
Um,
glad.
but yeah, it's I don't think like people are always saying, "Oh, movies are dying," and I think this is going to be something like I feel like uh, the cynical part of me wants to point to this and say, this is the end, guys." But also, Challengers came out this year, and Monkey Man came out this year.
Hmm.
I think we're not. This isn't dead yet, but this is pushing
Yeah.
us more in the direction that, like, it's continuing the past. It's not paving the way for a new future.
Yeah, it feels like a Disney Marvel movie. So there you
It
go.
feels like it feels like a Disney Marvel movie like that was built in a machine. Like it feels very calculated
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
One of those
Um,
five writers was a algorithm.
Maybe we'll find out. I don't know.
Maybe we'll find out. I don't know.
But again, I'm sorry. I hope we can end this off somewhat positively, despite the fact that I gave this a 3 out of 10.
Do we think Chris Evans will be recast as a villain? Maybe a nihilist.
I don't know.
In the future.
I mean, if they're doing it
Is
with
there a bad
RDJ,
Captain America in the comic book? Then yeah, sure.
I mean, there's the Hydra Cap. So that's what people thought it was. They thought it was a Hydra Cap, fascist Cap in the void. So people thought it was him instead of Human Torch.
Interesting.
I don't think they're going to do that for political reasons. But well, like Hydra Cap sounds a little too loaded. But as somebody, I mean, Chris Evans seems game to keep doing it. Like,
I mean, at the end of the day, the actors are trying to get paid, man. I just read, and I am not sure how true it is, that Robert Downey Jr. is being paid $100 million for Doomsday.
jeez,
which was the full budget of Oppenheimer. I read.
I'll take it.
I don't like. At the end of the,
if I get paid a shit ton of money to have fun with my friends, I'm gonna do anything.
I don't blame the actors at all.
They could also make 20 Get Outs with that money.
Yeah,
That's so much money.
I'm aware.
Disney will not.
They could make 5 Monkey Mans with that
Disney will
money.
not. They will not.
They could make a lot of good stuff.
So that kind of answered. Y'all both answered my question. What's the state of the MCU? What does the film change? The film doesn't change much with the MCU at all. Like I said,
I don't think so.
Happy Meeting Deadpool.
I think
really
it just confirms to them that they should keep going down the road that they were planning to. Because
I'm hearing a lot of people saying like, "Oh, it's back. This is what we want it to be," and I'm like, I don't think it's that different. Like, I haven't. The last Marvel movie I saw in the theater was Guardians 3, and that was like early 2023. I'm sure there was a movie out between now and then, but yeah, people were lauding it. Oh, it's back. It's going to be fun. And I'm like, there's no indicator for me that anything has changed other than it's at least nice to see that they're letting Deadpool be Deadpool from like a jokey standpoint. Like, yeah, give me sodomy and cocaine jokes from Disney. Yeah. Fuck yeah. Let's get weird with it. But it doesn't change, to me, it doesn't change the state of what they're going to continue to do with anything MCU related.
Yeah. I have been curious of whether, like, because Disney has never put out anything. They make R-rated movies, but they don't make them with like the Disney logo. They don't make that part of the Disney brand. And that is something that I wonder if that's going to change now, because Deadpool is so publicly part of their brand. Are they going to try to pivot a little bit and be like, hey, we can make stuff for adults too? I don't know. I kind of think no. I think they're going to test the waters very gently with that. I think they might even wait for the next Deadpool movie before they do any kind of like, here is a Disney R-rated movie, guys. I think they're going to be very cautious about it. But now it might kind of be it might be a possibility that gets floated. I don't know if I want it, but it might happen.
I want it. I'm here for all of it.
Just try it. Why not?
I'm here. Just give me more Wolverine and violence. That's all I'm asking for. I know what I want. So
okay.
Is we got it all in? Is there any more notes?
I think so. I don't think. Yeah, I think everything I had written down we've touched on. So
I think I'm good. Okay. Again, Jelani, I will not fight your 10 out of 10. I also won't apologize for my 3 out of 10. And it might even go down to a 2, depending on if I think about it.
You didn't have to tell me that.
I thought he was going to apologize and be like, it's going to be 3.5.
IMDb doesn't let you do half stars, so I can't.
Oh, bummer.
I've always wished they would, but that's another story. Okay. Our upcoming episodes, we already recorded this, but I think I'm going to put it out after this one. We did The Road to El Dorado. And if you want to see the roles reversed, where Jelani makes me realize that the thing that I really like isn't actually that good.
Yeah, watch this one first and then watch Dorado.
Yeah, you can maybe I deserved what I got a little bit there. I still like that movie though. And I hope you still like this after.
Oh, I do.
I'm just cynical about the state of the industry.
I'm not taking any of this personally. I'm going to rewatch this as soon as I can. So.
And you made good points about why El Dorado is not as good as the amount I enjoy it. But I still like it. We have our Patreon and our YouTube channel. We should. I think I just got it up there. We did a watch along of Mortal Kombat, the old one from 1995.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, we were just kind of shopping around. We were like, what did you call it, Jelon? You were like, I want some delicious garbage, I think was the phrase you used.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And we were like,
that's what that is.
Probably our one.
Action is better than I remember, honestly. But Go watch that.
It
for
was not
$1.
bad. It was all right. Yeah, our logo's by Kelsey Hendry. I'm on Letterboxd at ev_Wes, and both of you can plug yourselves. Taylor, you have your Film Nuts podcast. I don't know if you want to. I don't know which of you wants to go first there.
I'm on Instagram at Jelani T. Kelly. YouTube Jelani T. Kelly. Taylor.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Instagram and Letterboxd. Tay D Adams is the handle, or you can check out the Film Nuts podcast wherever you get your podcasts on all the audio platforms you can think of: YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You can also find me in the void digging up the 20th Century Fox logo. That is where I am in this movie.
I missed that theme. I missed that opening 20th Century Fox theme.
It's a great opening.
It's so good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Taylor, thanks for joining us. And
yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
See you guys next time.